Royal Recruits. These were the words on everyone's lips when they first marched into the arena, ready to leave their mark on the world of Clash Royale.
Every time I'm against Royal Recruits, I lost.
The Royal Recruits
looks like I've won.
They're just absurd. There's no other way around it.
Look at this thing. Look at this thing. Are you joking?
Lost. Royal Recruits. Lost. Against Royal Recruits.
They are one of the strongest cards in the game right now.
Costing only 6 elixir, these brave troops, covered in simple armor, wielding wooden shields and spears, were about to change the game forever. When the Royal Recruits first deployed in the arenas, no one could have predicted the impact they would have. Opponents found themselves at a loss as they attempt to counter the Royal Recruits' impressive defensive capabilities and devastating counterattacks. With each passing battle, the Royal Recruits marched ruthlessly towards the top of the meta, leaving a trail of defeated enemies in their wake. But the Royal Recruits' reign of terror didn't end there. Just when players thought they had figured out how to deal with these formidable troops, the game changed once again. With the introduction of the evolution mechanic, the Royal Recruits transformed into an even more terrifying nightmare for players across the arena. Their newfound abilities and increased power made them nearly unstoppable. So get ready to relive the epic journey of the Royal Recruits as they rewrote the rules of Clash Royale and cemented their place into the game's history. This is a tale you won't want to miss. On July 20th, the Royal Recruits burst onto the scene, their arrival heralding a new era in Clash Royale history. To celebrate their debut, Supercell introduced the Royal Recruits Draft Challenge. This unique event put a twist on the classic Draft Challenge format, allowing one player to choose which side would wield the power of the Royal Recruits. The atmosphere was electric as players eagerly queued up, knowing that this was their chance to experience the raw might of the Royal Recruits firsthand. The stakes were high, as those who achieved 8 wins or more would unlock the Royal Recruits before their official release.
I'm 12 Royal Recruits, 813. Winning the challenge should get you 810. I think I requested some because I'm a terrible clanmate.
At first glance, the Royal Recruits appeared to be similar to their modern-day counterparts, having slightly less damage per hit in exchange for a faster hit speed. However, a closer look revealed a game-changing difference. The original Royal Recruits only cost 6 elixir, one less than their present-day version. The reduced elixir cost allowed players to deploy these terrifying troops with unparalleled frequency, overwhelming their opponents and dominating the battlefield. Their unique horizontal deployment made them excellent for split lane pressure and countering units like the Prince, Mega Knight, or P.E.K.K.A, while dealing chip damage on the other side. Those who embraced the Royal Recruits found themselves wielding a powerful tool, capable of controlling the field and dictating the flow of battle. Their opponents, on the other hand, were left scrambling to find effective counters, often finding themselves outmaneuvered and overwhelmed.
And Royal Recruits, looks like I've won. Good game. Pack it up, we're done.
As players grappled with the Royal Recruits' overwhelming strength, forums and social media erupted with comments expressing frustration and disbelief. Many claimed that the card was overpowered, making it nearly impossible to emerge victorious against them, even with splash units like the Executioner, Wizard, or Witch in one's deck. The endless pressure and amazing defensive capabilities of the Royal Recruits proved too much to handle. This highlighted just how drastically a single point of elixir cost could break a card, and consequently, the game itself. The delicate balance of the meta had been thrown into chaos, and players were left wondering how long this new reign of terror would last.
Time going against it, but if you haven't tried this challenge already, I'm going to show you guys the Royal Recruits in action. They're just absurd. There's no other way around it. They span the entire map as we previewed inside of my video yesterday, and they're just so good. Honestly, they're crazy, and at 6 elixir, you would think that they're expensive, but inside of this game mode, a lot of people are complaining that if you get the Royal Recruits, you win. If you lose, or if you don't get the Royal Recruits, you lose.
Chief Pat's gameplay footage perfectly illustrates the Royal Recruits' dominance. In one sequence, he plays the Royal Recruits alongside a skeleton barrel. Even though his opponent responds with an Executioner and a Hunter, their efforts prove pointless against the relentless onslaught. In a single push, Chief Pat's opponent finds their Princess Tower teetering on the brink of destruction, showcasing the immense pressure the Royal Recruits could apply. As the match progresses, it became clear that the opponent stands little chance against the Royal Recruits' overwhelming power. The Draft Challenge package essentially offered two options: either secure the royal recruits for your own deck or face the daunting task of battling against them, which often resulted in a swift defeat. While not every match played out this way, an astonishing 90% of the matches I analyzed ended in favor of the royal recruits. Another sequence from Chief Pat's video perfectly showcases the royal recruits' strength. In this instance, his opponent uses them to take out a prince, and then even the dark prince. Despite these defensive troops, Chief Pat is unable to protect his tower from the royal hog's chip damage. Even the combined efforts of a baby dragon and a dark prince, two strong counters to the royal recruits, prove insufficient. But the true value of the royal recruits shines through an interaction from a player named Grax. In this clip, Grax uses the royal recruits to defend against a prince and a mega knight, effortlessly stopping the prince's charge and ruining the mega knight's jump. As more and more players unlocked and experimented with royal recruits, their true potential began to shine through. News of their unmatched prowess swept throughout the Clash Royale community like a tidal wave, and in no time, the royal recruits became the most coveted card in the game. Decks featuring the royal recruits started to dominate grand challenges and tournaments. Over half of grand challenge decks use the card in various archetypes, including Hog Rider, Golem, and Balloon. These combinations showcase the royal recruits' versatility and ability to synergize with a wide range of cards, making them a hot topic in the Clash Royale community. Speaking of communities, I wanted to take a moment and let you know that I've recently launched a Buy Me a Coffee membership for my YouTube channel. If you enjoy my content and want to support the channel while gaining access to some exclusive perks, be sure to check out the link in the description below. Additionally, I invite you to join my Discord server, where you can connect with fellow Clash Royale enthusiasts, discuss strategies, and stay up to date with the latest news and updates. Now, back to the royal recruits. As players delved deeper into the intricacies of this card, they discovered that pairing them with the three Musketeers unlocked a particularly powerful synergy.
This is the official split push right here that you'll see that is unreal. Look at this thing. Look at this thing. Are you joking? Are you joking? And that was when I closed out of the app.
And this may be the most broken deck in the entire game right now. Royal Recruits 3 Musketeers is literally ruining the game. The pro community's in an uproar. Even casual players are saying, what the heck is going on with the Royal Recruits? People are starting to level them up, people are starting to request for them, and things are getting crazy.
This combination provided unbreakable defense and a devastating offensive threat, solidifying its position as one of the most formidable decks in the meta. The versatility of the royal recruits allowed players to adapt to different matchups and strategies, solidifying their place as a top-tier card in Clash Royale. As players sought ways to counter the dominance of the royal recruits, one particular deck began to gain. I'm leaving that in for your editing pleasure. Solidifying their place as a top-tier card in Clash Royale. As players sought ways to counter the dominance of the royal recruits, one particular deck began to gain traction: the 2.9 Trifecta deck, featuring the Musketeer, Hog Rider, and Valkyrie.
I think that the Trifecta cycle is incredible right now, especially with the recruits. Why don't you talk a little bit about the deck, man? It's 2.9, literally Trifecta, cannon, and cycle cards, basically, Fireball.
Yeah, really the crux of this deck is definitely Valkyrie and Musketeer. A lot of times you'll see I'm not necessarily even cycling my hog as fast as possible. What I'm trying to do is defend for as little elixir as possible, and then build up a Musketeer plus Valkyrie counter push.
Oh my god, look at this.
Yeah, this is gonna be interesting.
Fireball maybe. Holy moly, this is insane. I don't even know how you defended that. It looks
I honestly don't know either.
It looks so intimidating.
This deck bore a striking resemblance to the popular Hog 2.6 deck, with one notable difference. Instead of the Ice Golem, the 2.9 Trifecta deck employed the Valkyrie, whose area damage and high hit points made her an effective counter to both the Royal Recruits and the Royal Hogs when placed strategically. Compared to the standard Hog 2.6 deck, the 2.9 Trifecta variant adopted a slightly less aggressive playstyle. The key to success with this deck was to defend as cost-efficiently as possible, using the Valkyrie and other defensive units to mitigate the impact of the Royal Recruits. and other threats. Once an adequate defense was established, players would then mount a counterattack, leveraging the offensive capabilities of the Musketeer, Valkyrie, and Hog Rider. This strategic shift from defense to offense was crucial in keeping an opponent on their toes and preventing them from building an overwhelming advantage. The 2.9 Trifecta deck's delicate balance between defensive resilience and offensive potential made it an appealing choice for players seeking to navigate the pretty treacherous waters of the Royal Recruits meta. However, while this deck offered a glimmer of hope in countering the Royal Recruits, it was not a foolproof solution. The Royal Recruits' sheer versatility and value still posed a significant challenge, and players had to execute their strategies flawlessly to stand a chance against the formidable card. Even the slightest misstep could spell disaster, as the Royal Recruits were quick to capitalize on any weakness or hesitation. To fully understand the level of the Royal Recruits' power, it's pretty crucial to compare their stats to those of a similar card. The Guards. Upon looking at their damage output, we find that the Guards and Royal Recruits have nearly identical damage per hit. However, the Guards have a slightly faster attack speed of 1.1 seconds, compared to the Royal Recruits' 1.2. This slight difference gives the Guards a small advantage in terms of offensive speed. Both the Guards and the Royal Recruits boast the same shield hit points, at 199. However, the difference in their base hit points is staggering. The Guards, a 3 elixir card, have a modest 90 hit points each. In contrast, the Royal Recruits, despite costing only twice as much elixir at 6, possess an astonishing 440 hit points per recruit. This represents nearly a 400% increase in hit points compared to the Guards, making the Royal Recruits exceptionally durable for their costs. To put this into perspective, players were essentially getting 2 sets of Guards with vastly superior staying power for the same cost as deploying the Guards twice. This incredible value made the Royal Recruits a dominant force on the field, capable of absorbing significant damage while still maintaining a strong offensive presence. As the Royal Recruits continued to rule the game, players tried their best to find the most powerful ways to use them. One deck that got really popular had the Royal Recruits, Graveyard, and Poison Spell. These 3 cards together were just insanely good. The plan was easy but really effective. Immediately after deploying the Royal Recruits, players would cast the Graveyard spell, creating a nightmarish scenario for their opponents who struggled to mount an effective defense against this relentless attack.
Even though he has 3 Musketeers, we're going to go ahead and NATO everything up and play them into the bowler. Meanwhile, we have the Graveyard going down the left lane. Zappies are not a really great answer against the Graveyard, so we go ahead and we take that tower down, boom, and then we respond easily to the Musketeers. And guys, that's gonna be GG again. If you're a Graveyard player, actually scratch that, screw that. If you're not a Graveyard player, pick up one of these 2 decks. I think you'll be impressed.
The most infuriating aspect of this strategy was its low skill floor. Even novice players could achieve tremendous success with minimal effort or strategic thought. The Royal Recruits were so strong and worked so well with the Graveyard and Poison that it was almost a guaranteed win. It was pretty crazy to see top players, who are usually really smart and creative with their gameplay, just putting the Royal Recruits on the bridge over and over. This showed just how broken this card was. Even the most skilled players could win by using this simple, overpowered combo, for lack of a better word. The game used to have a lot of different strategies, but now it felt like every match was the same, with players just racing to use Royal Recruits, Graveyard, and Poison combo before their opponent did. It wasn't about being clever or adapting anymore.
Royal Recruits, they are obnoxiously strong. Maybe I'll go into a video tomorrow explaining why they're strong, what can be done about it, but hopefully Supercell doesn't take too long to act.
As more and more players spoke up and asked for something to be done, it was obvious that the Royal Recruits needed to be fixed to make the game fair and fun again. Supercell, fully aware of the growing anger among players, knew that they had to take drastic action to deal with the Royal Recruits' overwhelming dominance.
Now, Royal Recruits, based on this video, I feel like there is no reliable counter to take them out. So Rumham did tweet this out. He did say, "Hey everyone, we are aware the Royal Recruits are much stronger than anticipated." Probably stronger than Night Witch. There has been a lot of good feedback on social media about why they are too strong and what should be done. We won't keep you holding your breath. They will be nerfed in August before CRL starts. So I think that's really cool that they're acting really fast on this.
In a shocking move, just 1 week after introducing them, Supercell dramatically increased the elixir cost of Royal Recruits from 6 elixir to 8 elixir, stunning the Clash Royale community. The big problem was that Supercell didn't give the Royal Recruits any extra hit points or damage to make up for that higher cost. This change was absolutely devastating for the card, and it pretty much disappeared from battles. Seth, a member of the Supercell development team, shared insights into the decision to increase the Royal Recruits elixir to 8 cost instead of 7. He explained that the total sum of the card's stats aligned more closely with an 8 elixir card than a 7. The team's design goal for the Royal Recruits was to create a substantial, powerful army that players could build decks around, and they believed that the 8 elixir cost would better fulfill this build around me rule. Seth also mentioned that if the Royal Recruits prove to be too weak at 8 elixir, Supercell can comfortably buff them later, knowing that the higher cost will prevent the card from easily fitting into multiple archetypes. Given the Royal Recruits' strength at the time, there was a concern that a 7 elixir cost might not have been a sufficient nerf, so the team chose the safest route to ensure a more competitive environment in challenges and the upcoming CRL season. Unfortunately, players who had invested time and resources into mastering the Royal Recruits were left feeling betrayed and pretty frustrated, as their once dominant card was rendered nearly useless overnight. Only a few brave players still tried to use them, but they weren't dominating anymore. Recognizing the severity of their misstep, Supercell began to gradually make adjustments to the Royal Recruits in the following months and years. In a balance update in September, they increased the Royal Recruits' damage by 12% and made a small change to how they split when deployed, allowing them to be divided into groups of 2 and 4 or 4 and 2. Despite the previous changes, the Royal Recruits needed a more impactful boost to shine again. December's balance update brought that boost by reducing their elixir cost from 8 to 7, making them more affordable and accessible. To maintain balance, their attack speed was slightly decreased from 1.2 to 1.3 seconds. This update breathed new life into the Royal Recruits, allowing players to experiment with new strategies and rediscover their potential in the meta. And as a result, they began to see a resurgence in popularity, slowly but surely reclaiming their place in the meta. While they never quite recaptured the same level of popularity as their initial, overpowered release, the Royal Recruits had undeniably become a viable and frequently seen choice in the arena once more. 2 years later, in 2020, Supercell delivered another game-changing balance update, further improving the Royal Recruits by increasing their damage output by a substantial 8%.
Royal Recruits will be receiving an 8% damage buff going from 101 to 110. This brings the overall DPS of each recruit from 77 up to 84. Remember, there are 6 of them, so taking down tanks will be a lot easier, especially now that 4 is going to clump onto something like, say, a giant. One of the most important interaction differences is that they'll be able to one-shot Spear Goblins now. Not that Spear Goblins were ever meta, but now they do that.
The once sidelined card had now become a staple in many players' decks, proving that with the right balance changes, even the most overpowered or underpowered cards could find their niche in the ever-evolving Clash Royale landscape. One particularly effective deck that emerged during this time combined the Royal Recruits with the Royal Hogs, creating a formidable push that could quickly overwhelm opponents if left unchecked. But there were also times when the Royal Recruits disappeared from battles again, like when the Goblin Drill was added to the game.
Yeah, it's a good card. You better not have Scar me. Arrows? Wait a second, that's a lot of... It's official. 100% official. The results are coming in. Drill is broken.
The Goblin Drill was extremely powerful upon its release, and the Royal Recruits struggled to counter it effectively. Because of this, only about 0.6% of players used Royal Recruits in June of 2021. After that, the Royal Recruits weren't really part of the meta. For the following months, and even years, the Royal Recruits found themselves in a dire situation, with a mere 1% of players on average utilizing their unique abilities in battle. And despite their diminished presence, the Royal Recruits maintained a glimmer of hope for those who still believed in their potential, waiting for the right moment to make their triumphant return. Lucky for them, in 2023, everything changed in the blink of an eye. "2023 was a game changer for Royal Recruits, as the September update introduced the Royal Recruits Evolution. This new mechanic allowed the Royal Recruits to evolve once every other cycle, granting them increased damage output and the ability to charge after their shields were destroyed. The evolved Royal Recruits charge ability was particularly impressive, covering a distance of only 1.5 tiles, exactly half of the Prince's charge range,
for a counter push. Now, for perspective, a Prince starts charging after 3 tiles. Connects, deals double damage. 1 tile, 2 tiles, 3 tiles, and it starts charging. Royal Recruits, though, as soon as their shield is down, 1.5 tiles, and they just start rushing for everything. It's ridiculous. Their charge speed is going to be very similar to a Prince. Exact same speed, actually, 200 speed.
This short charge distance made them incredibly difficult to counter, as they could quickly close the gap and deal devastating damage to their targets. The mere sight of the evolved Royal Recruits on the field struck fear into the hearts of their opponents, as they knew they were facing the most dangerous troops in the arena. In October, the evolved Royal Recruits usage rate skyrocketed to an astonishing 12% among the top 1,000 players in the world. This represented a staggering 1,100% increase compared to the previous months and years, when the Royal Recruits maintained an average usage rate of only 1%. It was clear that the evolution mechanic had propelled them to new heights of popularity and effectiveness. Unsurprisingly, the evolved Royal Recruits became a go-to choice for elite players like Muhammad Light, Samuel Pizzotto, and Ruben. These skilled competitors recognized the immense value and versatility that the card brought to their decks, and they wasted no time incorporating them into their strategies. Players began referring to the Evo Royal Recruits as 6 Hog Riders or 6 Dark Princes in the arena, a testament to their pretty incredible offensive capabilities.
I mean, we can gang low, Mighty Monitor high. Goblins for this. Look, the recruit's charging. It's like faster than a Hog Rider, or the same speed like a Hog Rider. Man, that Golden Knight. Golden Knight might be really good now. Dude, they're charging everywhere. Oh, it's so much better if you play your Evo. Oh my. What is that? 6 Hog Riders? They're like 6 Hog Riders, 6 Dark Princes, all combined.
One particular deck that caught my attention was a variation of the popular P.E.K.K.A. bridge spam archetype. However, instead of relying on the P.E.K.K.A., players started using the Evo Royal Recruits as the centerpiece of their strategy. And to no one's surprise, this modification worked exceptionally well, as the Royal Recruits' ability to split push and apply pressure on both lanes proved to be a game changer. In the gameplay footage of Ian 77, we can see the true potential of this evolved Royal Recruits bridge spam deck. Ian dominated his opponents with apparent ease, slowly but surely overwhelming them with the combined might of the Royal Recruits, Battle Ram, and Magic Archer. This powerful synergy allowed him to control the pace of the match and secure victories consistently, establishing the deck as one of the best in the meta for an extended period.
Wait, Battle Ram? We need this to connect. If it doesn't connect, we lost already. Come on, Ghost. No, we lost. Oh! Wait, how did that connect? Hold up. Come on. No second shot. Okay. Gonna Magic Archer. We're still in a bad spot though, man. Gonna Battle Ram. Wait a minute. The Magic Archer. Wait, go! Zap! Wait, the Magic Archer. Look at this Magic Archer, man. Recruits again. We're actually winning. Battle Ram. Yeah, he can't stop the Battle Ram though. He might go in here. Yeah, but... nah, he's done. What a comeback.
Many players also discovered that pairing the evolved Royal Recruits with the Hog Rider created an incredibly potent offensive combination. The Royal Recruit's ability to tank damage and apply pressure perfectly complemented the Hog Rider's fast-paced, high-damage playstyle, resulting in a formidable push that could quickly overwhelm opponents. However, despite their dominance, the evolved Royal Recruits were not immune to balance changes. In November, a minor update decreased their damage to 106% of the original value, down from 112%. While this 6% damage reduction might seem insignificant at first glance, it had a noticeable impact on the card's overall effectiveness. With 6 Royal Recruits on the field, the cumulative damage reduction was substantial, affecting not only their regular attacks but also their charging damage. As a result of this nerf, the evolved Royal Recruit's usage rate saw a 40% decrease in November, dropping to 7.3% among top players. However, this setback did not diminish their presence in competitive play, as evidenced by their frequent appearances in the 2023 World Championship. The most skilled players recognized the immense value that the evolved Royal Recruits could provide when played correctly, and they continued to leverage the card's strengths to gain an advantage over their opponents. To uncover the true brilliance of the evolved Royal Recruits in action, I looked into a phenomenal 13 hours of World Championship footage, deeply analyzing every move and counter move for your viewing pleasure. You're welcome. One standout match featured Pandora, using a Royal Recruits and Ram Rider deck, going head-to-head against Wallace, who employed a Royal Recruits and Mortar combination. In this intense battle, both players demonstrated exceptional strategic decision-making and precise timing when deploying their Royal Recruits. The constant back and forth between the two competitors kept viewers on the edge of their seats, highlighting the incredible versatility and game-changing potential of the EVO Royal Recruits in high-level play.
Connection, and a huge lead opens up for Pandora.
Yep, getting the tower down to 1629, now in the lead by 1,000 HP.
It's going the opposite direction as we go into sudden death. Big lead opened up for Pandora as Wallace tries to make the conversation go away from his weak side tower.
Right there, Fireball on the right side tower, Spear Goblins plus the Dart Goblin to clean everything up. I think one of the recruits might get a chip shot, and yes, gets the tower down to 1178. Wallace needs to figure something out quickly, but I'm racking my brain. I don't know what he's supposed to do. This is such a tough matchup.
Yeah, this is definitely rough for Wallace, and playing this one from behind already. Ram Rider in should go to the Mortar, as it's not going to fall quite yet, but it touches and turns, and there you go. Look at that.
While this match showcased the strategic depth of the evolved Royal Recruits, it was but a warm-up for the main event. A battle so intense, it would be etched into the minds of viewers for years to come. Pedro, armed with a Royal Giant deck, faced off against Ruben, who used a Hog Rider and Royal Recruits deck. This clash of titans resulted in one of the most intense and captivating matches I have ever witnessed.
Shredded, not long for this world it stands, but oh my word, Ruben comes out with a bang.
Pedro trying to counter push. He's got the Skelly King, he's got the ability, he's got a lot on the board. Ruben has 3 elixir. Is that going to be enough to deal with this defense? There goes the ability. Does he have the small spell? He goes for the arrows, but look at this tower.
Wow, just a slobber knocker, a slugfest. Shots both direction, and just like that, we are pretty much all tied up, tower down, and Pedro right back in it.
This is wild. This is something we are not used to seeing in the Clash Royale League, but we've seen a couple times. Today, we just see pressure at the bridge. Mother Witch out cycle, I'm going for the recruits. I'm going for the hog. And Pedro doing a great job of staying calm. Like, I don't know if I would have been able to make that play to go in and take that tower.
Well, again, you talk about a guy who has been phenomenal, does not get that fireball onto the Musketeer. She will be healthy behind all of this as the Rage works to get that Hog Rider down, but Muskie gonna do triple duty here, working in the bridge fight, on the Skeleton King, and now on the Phoenix.
Is gonna take the Phoenix Egg out as well. All in all, pretty even, but Ruben's doing a great job of pressuring with the Fire Spirit to make sure that this Musketeer is forced to be responded to.
Do we see a pocket play from Pedro? Probably not yet. It is only at 5 elixir, but that is now opening. You see the Tesla maybe there to predict the pocket drop instead. Pedro RG's up in the back.
Ruben gonna do the same thing. He's gonna play his evolution in the back. Next cycle, both of these Evos will be in hand. but you can't help but be a little bit in the driver's seat if you're Ruben here, because those recruits are going to do a great job of stalling these RGs.
This time, Fireball plus Rage gets the Musketeer off the board very easily. Second Tesla down. Pocket now exposed, though, for Ruben in the next exchange, and he gets his evolved recruits down very quickly. Maybe looking to cycle back to a Tesla in the next couple of cards.
Skelly King doing a great job of preventing any sort of counter push. Fireball last card for Ruben, gonna drop on top of that Mother Witch.
And here we go, Musketeer, Tesla might go to the opposite side, spread out the Fireball targets, and the Musketeer still working against this Evolved Royal Giant. Arrows have to come out defensively. Look at that recruit, though, the Evolved recruit all over the King Tower, and suddenly Pedro having to defend on two fronts.
Wow, tower's down to 1134, because that recruit is just barely out of range of the Princess Tower, getting so much damage.
And this makes Fisherman so much harder for Pedro to use. Can't really get it involved offensively. Obviously, not a great offensive target out of all these ones, but he doesn't want to pull that Musketeer. Has to go with these Fireballs because he needs to save that Fisherman to pick up the dangerous, opportunistic hog you might expect from Ruben at some point.
I love how Ruben's constantly cycling these Musketeers. It's very difficult for Pedro to deal with them. It always forces out 6 elixir.
Can Ruben just defend from this point, or does he need to extend this lead? He has a pretty sizable margin.
Yeah, I honestly think that he's good to just keep defending. He's cycling recruits, always getting the Evo version down. And that's the thing about recruits, they kind of play themselves. Not only can you defend with them on the right, but they're always going to apply pressure in the left-hand lane.
Fisherman down. Is this an opportunity with some pressure on the left-hand side? No, goes for Fireball on the Mother Witch instead. Final minute, triple elixir Pedro. Facing the possibility of dropping down to the lower bracket, has to make something happen.
Skelly King in the middle to take out the Tesla. RG is locked on tower for at least 2 shots. I mean, that's some damage.
That's big damage. Fireball in, and suddenly we are close. Fisherman, though, walking away. Tesla there. Arrows trying to clear. Hog does not get the shot. The Fisherman turns around and might have just saved Pedro's game.
This game is so close. Musketeer dies in the tower. Here goes the evil RG in the pocket. Tesla trying to deal with
it. Oh my God, it's on tower! The evil RG beats the Tesla!
Both Pedro and Ruben showcased their mastery over their respective decks, utilizing unique strategies and tactics to outmaneuver and outplay each other. The crowd was still buzzing with excitement from the previous match, but little did they know that the best was yet to come. The arena fell silent as Samuel Bizzotto and Morton took their positions, the anticipation hanging thick in the air. It was in this moment that the true game-changing potential of the evil royal recruits would be unleashed, forever altering the course of the tournament. Samuel brought an intriguing and unconventional deck to the table, featuring Minor, Little Prince, and Royal recruits. On the other side of the arena, Morton opted for a more traditional Hog Earthquake deck. As the battle unfolded, Samuel's masterful deployment of the Royal recruits showcased their incredible versatility and impact on the gameplay. The evolved Royal recruits' ability to split push and apply constant pressure on both lanes kept Morton on his toes, forcing him to make difficult decisions and adapt his strategy on the fly. As the tournament reached its crescendo, the stage was set for a clash that would forever be etched into the minds of those who witnessed it. A titanic struggle between Pandora and Pedro. Pandora brought a Royal Recruits and Ram Rider deck to the fray, while Pedro countered with a Mortar and Minor combination. From the very start of the match, Pandora exhibited an unrelenting aggression, leveraging the power of the evolved Royal Recruits to apply immense pressure on Pedro's defenses. The constant barrage of attacks, fueled by the Royal Recruits' split-pushing capabilities and the Ram Rider's speed and damage output, left Pedro scrambling to mount an effective defense. As the match progressed, the tension continued to build, with both players showcasing their exceptional skills and game sense. The crowd erupted in a deafening roar as the final seconds ticked away, the weight of the moment heavy in the air. In the end, despite Pandora's best efforts and the undeniable strength of his evolved Royal Recruits, Pedro managed to secure a hard-fought victory. His ability to adapt to Pandora's aggressive playstyle and make crucial defensive plays at key moments ultimately tipped the scales in his favor. As the 2023 competitive season continues to unfold, it's safe to say the dominance of the Royal Recruits is far from over. They firmly established themselves as true game changers, and their impact on the meta and competitive play is undeniable. Unfortunately, everything changed in January of 2024, when the evolved Royal Recruits received a significant balance update. The update decreased the evolved Royal Recruits' charge damage by a substantial 8%, which had a noticeable impact on their offensive capabilities. This change alone was enough to make players reconsider their use of the card in their decks. However, the challenges for the Royal Recruits didn't end there. In March, another balance update completely removed the evolved Royal Recruits' damage boost. This meant that the evolved Royal Recruits no longer dealt increased damage compared to their non-evolved counterparts. The cumulative effect of these balance changes resulted in a staggering 12% decrease in the evolved Royal Recruits' overall damage output compared to when they were first introduced to the game. When it seemed like the Royal Recruits couldn't fall any further, the introduction of the evolved Bomber in February 2024 emerged as the final nail in their coffin. The evolved Bomber was utterly broken upon release, with its ability to evolve every other deployment cycle. Additionally, the evolved Bomber's bomb jumps had a significantly larger range than they do today, allowing it to cover an impressive distance and wreak havoc on the battlefield.
Oh, hit my tower!
What?
You see that?
Yeah!
The bomber hit the tower!
Oh yeah.
What the freak?
It survives the prince!
That's so broken, dude.
Your king I wonder if it'll hit the tower. Oh my god, it's still hitting it!
Right?
That's... I think...
Right? King's activation. Yes! Let's go! I can't block
Wait.
that. Too late.
Bomber hit the witch into your princess. Boom, boom, boom!
The evolved Bomber's ability to effectively destroy both normal and evolved Royal Recruits made it an absolute menace in the arena. The impact of these changes was clearly reflected in the usage statistics. By March, the Royal Recruits' usage rate among the top players in the world plummeted to a mere 2%, a far cry from their previous dominance. This drastic decline left many players wondering if this marked the end of the Royal Recruits' reign in the meta. Yet amidst the darkness of their apparent downfall, a glimmer of hope remains. I strongly believe that this is not the end of the Royal Recruit story, but merely the turning of a page, the dawn of a new era filled with untold possibilities. The ever-shifting nature of the meta, the introduction of new cards, and the constant balance changes ensure that no card remains dominant forever. Every card, including the Royal Recruits, has the potential to rise again and find its place in the spotlight. Now, watch this video next, where I take you into the forgotten history of the Dark Prince. Trust me, you don't want to miss this in-depth exploration of one of the game's most intriguing and influential cards.